everyone! The content of this video has been created by Delaney Fort and Brittany Thomas. We are graduate students in nutrition at the University of South Florida and future registered dietitians. From this video, we hope that you will become more familiar with the different components of MyPlate and that you will be able to plan future meals and snacks around the MyPlate recommendations. Additionally, we hope that this presentation will make you more mindful about your fluid intake. No matter what your current understanding of MyPlate is, by the end of this video, you should be able to identify the main food groups of MyPlate, distinguish what food groups different menu items fall into, understand the appropriate serving sizes of various foods in those food groups, and identify 2 or 3 ways you can incorporate more fluids into your day. Many of you may have been much more familiar with the older food pyramid. It looked a little something like this. But as of 2011, the USDA has said out with the old and in with the new. And it seems that MyPlate, the current model for nutrition recommendations, is here to stay. The MyPlate infographic is divided into 5 different groups representing the 5 major components of good nutrition. Take a moment to think of what they might be. If you came up with fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy, then you are correct and good job. If not, don't worry, we'll explore MyPlate in much greater detail. So this is what the actual infographic of MyPlate looks like. You might not have immediately noticed that the MyPlate infographic has been designed in a way to represent how much space each food group should take up on a standard sized plate. For example, by looking at this, without even knowing the specifics of serving sizes yet, we can tell that our plate should contain more vegetables compared to protein. And perhaps a serving of dairy should accompany our meal. Now that we've taken a moment to appreciate the smart design, I'd like to start off by looking at the specifics, starting with our fruits. Based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet, MyPlate recommends that older adults should be consuming at least 2 cups of fruit a day, with an emphasis on whole fruits. So what exactly counts as a fruit? Well, fruit can be consumed fresh, frozen, canned, dried, or even as 100% fruit juice. All of that will count towards your daily intake. 1 cup of fruit would be 1 cup of raw or cooked fruit, or 1 cup of 100% fruit juice, while only half a cup of dried fruit will count as 1 cup, according to MyPlate. Different fruits can easily be incorporated into meals and eaten as snacks. Even better, they are good sources of fiber. When choosing dried fruit or 100% juice, pay attention to serving sizes and remember, these options can sometimes be higher in sugar and higher in calories. Next, let's go explore the vegetable category. MyPlate recommends that you eat slightly more veggies than fruits throughout the day at 2.5 cups, counting as satisfactory intake. So, what would count as 1 cup of vegetables? Well, 1 cup of raw or cooked veggies, 2 cups of leafy salad greens, or 1 cup of 100% vegetable juice, all would count as 1 cup of vegetables. When choosing your vegetables, I encourage you to try to think about eating a rainbow of colors. Eating a variety will provide you with the greatest health benefits from different vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Some commonly overlooked vegetables are those that are dark green, red, and orange. Can you think of 2 of each color that you would incorporate into your own diet? This is what I came up with. For dark green, I thought of kale, and I also thought of collard greens. For red, I immediately thought of tomatoes, and I also came up with radish. Orange is a little bit harder, but I thought of butternut squash, and of course, orange bell peppers. When preparing vegetables, it may be tempting to want to add extra salt for flavor, but many vegetables can be seasoned deliciously with spice blends or cooked with a light drizzle of olive oil to really bring out the flavor. The next component of MyPlate is going to focus on your grain intake. You should be consuming 6 ounces of grain a day with a goal to make at least half of those consumed, which is roughly 3 ounces, whole grains. Whole grains can be easily identified by reading nutrition fact labels and ingredients lists. Many products have also begun to include a whole grain stamp on their packaging to make it easier to identify whole grain products. I think it's sometimes hard to think of your grain consumption in ounces, so to make it easier, follow these guidelines. 1 slice of bread, or half a cup of cooked rice, pasta, or cereal would count as 1 ounce of grains. It's easy to forget that there are more kinds of whole grains aside from just whole wheat. Some examples of whole grains you can consider adding to your diet are barley, brown rice, buckwheat, bulgur, also known as cracked wheat, oatmeal, popcorn, and wild rice. An added benefit of consuming whole grains is that they digest more slowly, which can help you to feel full for longer, and it can also help you to maintain more steady blood glucose levels compared to refined grains. Next, let's look at protein. Getting enough protein in your diet is important, and quality is just as important as quantity. MyPlate recommends that you mix up your routine to include a variety of protein foods, including seafood, beans and peas, unsalted nuts, soy products, eggs, and lean meat and poultry. Your goal should be to consume 5.5 ounces of protein foods per day. People tend to overestimate their portion sizes when it comes to protein, especially when it comes to meat and poultry. An appropriate serving of lean meat would be about 3 ounces, roughly the size of a deck of cards or an older version of a smartphone. 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, 1/4 cup of cooked beans, and 1/2 ounce of nuts and seeds all would count as 1 ounce of protein equivalents. All of your daily protein doesn't need to come from animal sources. There are many vegetarian options that are low in fat and heart healthy that should be consumed. High-fat meats such as bacon, salami, certain cuts of pork and red meats should be eaten more sparingly, especially if you're an individual with high cholesterol or at risk for heart disease. Lastly, we will look at a particularly important component of MyPlate, and that is dairy products. For older adults, consuming dairy products which are rich in vitamin D and calcium can help prevent osteoporosis and fractures, and it also helps to maintain our bone strength as we age. Aim to consume 3 cups of dairy each day, preferably in the form of low-fat or fat-free milk and yogurt products, to reduce the amount of saturated fat in your diet. 1 cup of milk, even fortified soy milk, 1 cup of yogurt, or 1.5 ounces of natural cheese, which is roughly the size of 3 dice, all will count as 1 cup of milk. So, that concludes our look at the MyPlate components. Some additional MyPlate recommendations include limiting your sodium intake to 2,300 milligrams or less each day, consuming no more than 22 grams of saturated fat each day, and trying to limit your added sugars to 50 grams each day. Equally important as healthy diet is physical activity. Set a goal to be physically active for at least 2.5 hours each week, or roughly 30 minutes of physical activity for 5 days out of the week. Something MyPlate doesn't address is how much water you should be drinking on a daily basis, which we feel is important to mention. As a general rule of thumb, 8 8-ounce glasses of water each day should meet your needs. However, individual needs can vary depending on sex, local climate, whether or not you exercise, and additional factors. As we age, our sense of thirst can diminish, so it's important to remember to drink water regularly, even if you aren't necessarily thirsty. Some good tips to increase your water intake are: take sips between bites of your meals, have soup as an afternoon snack, have a glass of water with pills, or have a glass of water before and after you exercise or go outdoors. A good way to make your water more flavorful and fun to drink is by infusing it with your favorite cut fruits or herbs such as mint. Your daily total water intake can also come from other sources such as tea, coffee, juice, milk, sodas, and beer. Just remember, if you do choose to drink things such as fruit juices, soda, or beer, that the calories and sugars can quickly add up, so try to consume them in moderation. 1 can of cola has about 39 grams of sugar. That's quite a bit when you consider that MyPlate recommends consuming no more than 50 grams of added sugar a day. That concludes our discussion, and we hope you feel you have learned something valuable from this video. Before ending, I challenge you to take this post-test quiz and compare your answers to the answer key in the comments section below. Feel free to leave a comment what you have scored. We've also provided some additional links that are helpful resources you can